Hello, you gorgeous, bright, shining souls. How are you? Today I'm talking about persuasion, manipulation, and how we can do it pretty well. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So I've been watching loads of stuff, really interesting stuff, and I watched something about persuasive language. In hypnosis, when you train in hypnosis, you are taught how to use persuasive language. And that language helps you, whilst you have people in hypnosis, to be able to get them to change. Okay? It's called manipulation. Persuasive language, whatever you want to call it, being tricky. We use it all of the time. And the first premise I want to share with you is every single time you talk to somebody, and every single time somebody talks to you, they are trying to manipulate you. Okay, but manipulation's not bad. Manipulation is zero. It has no heavy negative or positive weight. It depends on the intention. When you intend to manipulate somebody into feeling better about themselves, having a better life, improving their life, that's good manipulation. And when you want to cause them problems, that's bad manipulation. Okay, manipulation is just what we do. We're always trying to convince people to believe what we believe. That's just the way that we're built. So I was listening and getting these little sentences that are very, very, very powerful in terms of helping people to make changes. And I said to the emissaries, hey, I'd like to share this on the video, but do you think we could use this on the people who are asleep? You know, the ones who are asleep but are due to wake up. And they said, probably not. Why? I said, why probably not? And they said, because they have written into their plan the waking up period. They have it written into their plan. So you could nudge them, but generally their waking up's going to happen when it's supposed to happen. They said, however, we've got a lot of people who've woken up already, who are open, let's say that, who are open to having more information. And they said, so definitely these kind of tools can help us when we're talking to people who we see are on the journey that we're on, but maybe just at the beginning, and they need some advice or they need some help or whatever. Okay. However, all of that is null and void if you believe that everybody has a plan that is so rigid, there's fuck all that you can do to get them to do something else. All right? And if that's the case, we're just doing this just because it's interesting. Okay? However, I know I have... Right, how can I put it? Let's do it this way. So if that were the case and everybody has a plan and there's nothing you can do, why would I bother doing therapy? Why? It would be a waste of time. However, in this little beautiful dance that we have, I know that when people come to me for therapy, they're ready for change. And so then they're kind of giving me permission for me to be a facilitator in that change. Okay? So yes, when people are ready, you know, there's that expression, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so when people are ready for change, then maybe you're just in the right place, just with the right statement to help them to shift into the next part of the plan. So I think that's probably how it works. What do you think? Put in the comments whether you think that sounds reasonable or whether you think not. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these sentences. And these are just little sentences. Now, my suggestion is don't try and use all of these. But you could take one or two that you like and make them your own. Okay? So the first one is this. Well, let's back up. Before I give you the first sentence, understand that when you're talking to somebody and you're trying to persuade them, instantly they go on the defensive. We are always defensive when we perceive that somebody is trying to change us. Okay? It's this resistance to change. And because we always ask ourselves, what does this person want from me? Do they want my time? Do they want my money? Or do they want my resources? And I'm going to add to that, because that's what this video I was watching was saying, time, money, or resources. I would add beliefs. Do they want to change my beliefs? Okay? And this is probably more in our area. So what you've got to do when you talk to people is take away the resistance. Okay, now it's called the guardian on the gate. And this is the one that we have in hypnosis. This is why we help people to go into hypnosis. The guardian on the gate is quiet and it lets the stuff through. Okay. However, if you do this right, people do not need to be in hypnosis to be suggestible. People are suggestible all the time. We are the most suggestible things I've ever seen, ever. I'm often disappointed at how suggestible we are. Just have to look at the power of the television, the power of internet, and what it can make people think. So, this is some sentences that you can use. You probably already know this sentence. And so when I tell you it, it's probably just going to seem like something, familiar to you. That's it. How did you feel when I said you probably already know this sentence? This sentence of you probably already know reduces all kinds of pushback. Why? Because how many people here have noticed this? That when you say, and I'll tell you something else, blah, 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 and and there are lines in the sky, and there's fluoride in the water and all of that, people go, as soon as you try to tell people information that they don't know or they don't want to know, they push back instantly. But when you say, you probably already know, you're coming at this in two ways. One is you are crediting them with intelligence. You're saying, you're so intelligent that you probably already know this. So suddenly they're feeling good about themselves. Yeah, I probably do. And you'll often be nodding when you do it as well. You probably already know this. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it gets them to sort of into a yes set when they go, yeah. And then you tell them. And what's happened is instead of them pushing back against that information, they then have to take it in and do a check on the inside to see whether they already know it or not. And guaranteed, it's already in there. It's just put in a place where they haven't got access to it. So when you go, you probably already know this because blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so it's a kind of a good way of getting information in there and then getting the mind to start linking these neural pathways. Because remember, from the moment that we're born until the moment that we pop out clogs, every single thing that we see, hear, feel, intuit, everything is recorded on our brain. Every single thing. It is the longest streaming video ever. And so it's all there. We've got the lot. We just haven't seen it. It's like that. I don't know if you ever saw it. There was a little test that they did where they got people to watch people who were banging a basketball. And so people are there going, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as the people are banging the basketball, a man dressed as a gorilla runs through the crowd and runs out. And at the end they say, so how many times? Well, I think it was 19 or whatever. And it was something like 60% of the people didn't see the gorilla. So what's that about? Well, that's just about the fact that where we focus on is what we remember. And the mind just blurs everything out, just blurs the rest out. Don't want to know about it. And so when you say you probably already know, it's already in there. It's like saying you probably already know there was a gorilla there. And they go, oh my God, there was. Yeah? All right, next one. Imagine what would happen if you were to know blah, blah, blah. Imagine what would happen if you found out blah, blah, blah. Okay? So again, invoking the imagination in people is extremely positive and very powerful. when you say to somebody, hey, imagine, the difference between saying to somebody, imagine you found out. Okay? Now, that's very in your face. Like, imagine you found out. People go, no, I can't even imagine it. But when you say to somebody, what would happen if, and the if word is very powerful, what would happen if you imagined? Imagine what would happen if. These are very powerful. And what happens is this. When we tell somebody to imagine something, they have to imagine it. When we tell somebody not to imagine something, they have to imagine it. Now, I know that we've got people who are not visual. However, if I say to you, do not imagine your favourite actor or actress naked. Don't imagine them naked now. What's got to happen? I would say that all of you, whether it be a flash, literally a good word to use, a flash or an impression, you have all imagined. And if you are, put in there in the comments who it was that you imagined being naked, okay? Just out of interest, if you want to. So what happens is every one of us is able to imagine. You know, if I say, what colour is your front door? You know, because you've got to imagine that front door to know what colour it is. All right, so we're all capable of imagining. So when you say, imagine what would happen if you discovered that the food you were eating wasn't healthy food. So what's happening is you're getting them to accept a premise that maybe they wouldn't accept if you said, all the food you eat isn't healthy. They go, what a load of rubbish. But imagine what would happen if you found out. Okay, so it's kind of, it's a sneaky way of not being forceful. It's like going, there's a couple of, imagine, first step. What would happen? Second step, possibility. If, third step. So it's like a very improbable route that people feel safe with. Oh, he's not telling me to do it. Just saying what would happen if. And so, but they've still got to imagine it. And so you can put into people's minds imagery that you want them to have rather than them rebuttaling it and saying, no, 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 no. And then this other sentence, which is this one. Would you be surprised if you knew? Okay. Again, would you be surprised if you knew that the people behind the government, blah, 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 yeah? Would you be surprised? Again, this cuts down resistance. Not you would be surprised. People don't want you to tell them what they would be and what they are. Asking them a question. Would you be surprised to find out that? And it's what it is the difference between saying you're surprised to you will be surprised. Resistance. These are, people, you're surprised. I'm not. You will be surprised. No, I won't. Okay. Would you be surprised if? There's no push with that. Yeah. So the actual words for influence, you'll notice, tend to be what are called the conditional words. This is the would, could, should. Yeah. And those are the words that don't have the impact that, the difference between you must eat better, okay, very strong, or, you should eat better. We all should eat better. We all. Certainly, it's everybody's responsibility. So it's kind of like, it's a non-action tense. It's an excuse tense of like, yeah, we should, but we're not going to. But when you ask these kind of questions, it's like opening a door. That's all. A door that's been firmly closed, and then you open it. Right? Now, these are great sentences when you've got time and when you're calm. However, if you're in a full argument, they don't work. If you're in a full argument, forget these ones. Just get out of the argument, which is something I've got to learn. Yeah. Next one. I'm wondering if you can. Do you know what? When I first met Cynthia, she would listen to me. She would ask me. I had to do all the phone calls. She was terrified to speak in England, terrified to speak on the phone because she couldn't understand people at the beginning. She was from Spain. And so I would call and she would listen to me and she would say, Why is it that every time that you speak to somebody, you start by saying, "Hi there, I wonder if you could help me"? And I say that because it works. Because it just works. And of course, it's because of this, I'm just wondering. I don't want you to help me. I'm not telling you you've got to help me. I'm just wondering if you could. So I've got, and listen to that, I'm just, so there's already a reduction, there's no pressure there, just, yeah? Wondering, just wondering, I'm thinking about a possibility, but there's no pressure. If you could, conditional. And so all the way through, there's 3 steps of reducing the pressure, all right? The message is still the same. Can you help me? But when I've found out, when I say it to people, I wonder if you could, they very rarely refuse. Very rarely. They just feel, oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'd like to help you. Yeah, I'm sure that would be nice. Yeah. Whereas if you say to somebody, help me, I want you to help me, 9 times out of 10, people are saying, well, no, what for? What for? Okay? So it's a really powerful, these are all the conditional sentences, very powerful, these ifs and woulds and wonderings and possibles. Yeah? And then the last one in these little sentences is, I don't know if. Okay? Again, there's not, what you're saying is, it's like a self-deprecating. It's like, I'm not a know-it-all. I don't know. I don't know if you've been able to see that, right? Much better than, have you not seen that? You should see that. Take a look at that, right? That just, people go, no fucking way. But when you say, I don't know if you've had a chance to see that, or I don't know if you've come across that, people go, oh, what's that? Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. You have to ask me, okay? So that's language of persuasion. And the secret is, don't tell people what they have to do. As soon as you do that, you're on a loser. So I've given you a lot there, but just take a couple of things. But actually the premise of using the conditional, I don't know if, I wonder if, perhaps, yeah? What would happen if? All of those kind of feeling, like getting people to think, imagine if. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is the difference between and but. Right, but, and I've talked about this before, but means behold the underlying truth. What happens with the but word is that everything that came before the but is nullified, is cancelled out, right? Example, I think you're a nice person, but you really annoy me, okay? I think you're a nice person is cancelled out. Behold the underlying truth, you're annoying. So what happens is you've got to be careful with but, because people forget the nice bits quite often. What you do is you replace but with and. Yeah? I think you're a nice person, and sometimes you annoy me. Much easier for people to take, right? Because they're focusing on, oh, I think you're a nice person. And sometimes you annoy me, right? There we've got balance. But I think you're a nice person, but sometimes you annoy me. All they can hear is sometimes you annoy me. However, you can use but to help you with difficult situations, with difficult stuff that you've got to tell people. Imagine you've got to give somebody some bad news, like they want something from you and you're not going to give them it. You could say something like this: I'm sorry to say that I'm not going to be able to give you what it is that you want, but I want you to know that it doesn't take away anything about what I feel about you, because I think you're a great person. Right, so what happens is you've used but and you've just cancelled out the front end. They know they're not going to get it, but that's not important. What comes afterwards is important. So you can use but to your advantage when you want to cancel the first thing, and you can use and to your advantage when you want to keep the first thing. Yeah, something to think about. So there you are, methods of persuasion and ways that we can persuade, and you can use them on yourself as well. And why not start with yourself? Because we need to persuade ourselves a lot of times to be and to do things that we should be and do. Imagine if you could use these tools on yourself, what would it be like if you were able to manage your own state, your own self? I don't know if you've tried it before, and I bet it would work a charm on you. And it might be hard to do, but I tell you that the benefits are endless. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.